Hello, Sarah Jackson, video number 9, standard precautions. This is submission number 2, just to show you in terms of covering wounds. I've got a little wound here that I've simulated on my hand, little cut. Why do we cover wounds? We cover wounds essentially to stop the two-way street of pathogens going from ourselves to our patients. So from my cut, what's inside of my cut, exposed that goes into our patients, and vice versa. So again, if a dog then licks me and puts its saliva into my cut, it's giving me potentially some viruses, bacteria, fungi, who knows. So in order to stop that from happening, we are going to ensure that this is safe and this is clean. So I've got a cut. My first reaction is actually to clean the cut with a little touch of this iodine scrub. So just putting that on there, and just here I'm just washing, then washing off the iodine on my cut. Now I don't want to cover it wet, so I'm going to dab it dry. Now, if it was flowing a lot more, if there was a lot more blood, I'd probably hold this on here for 60 seconds so that that stops and clots better. So, alright, it's clotting nicely, nice and dry. And just to show you, putting on the Band-Aid, I open it like this, nice and aseptically. Then I put one side, so I peel it like that, put the actual, you can see the little almost like swab part of the Band-Aid directly onto where the cut is. Now I've got the flaps, so now I can just slide that down there like that, make sure it's nice and tight. And again on the other side, let's just straighten that out a bit so we don't have too many. And that's nice and smooth, it's nice and completely sealed, it's dry, and I feel confident that nothing's going to get into that cut or come out of that cut, vice versa. Hello, Sarah Jackson, video number 9, standard precautions, talking about the workflow for sterile items and why it's so important to keep everything sterile. We have to keep everything sterile essentially so that no pathogens, no microorganisms can get into our patients who are being opened up for surgery, let's say in this context, so that they're not cross-contaminated and essentially made further unwell or sicker or given some kind of disease that they didn't have before, or virus, bacteria. And we're trying to keep everything sterile in a flow so that dirty doesn't cross-contaminate with clean, so that everything is kept in a flow so that that's avoided, that there's no cross-contamination between the dirty items. So just to show you really quickly, I'm here in the sterile area, and essentially a kit comes from this cupboard which keeps all the dust out, open from both sides. So you keep a kit, so a kit comes out, in for surgery, gets used on the bench here, then it's used, then the items will be, say, on this table when they're used, and then once they're used, they go down into these buckets underneath here. I don't know if you can see, so the buckets go into here. This is the Medizyme bucket where we put all the items to sit for about 20 minutes. Then the items go onto this clean workbench, which is actually the x-ray table, but we use it and it's completely sterile. And we put a towel down, we scrub the items on this bench here. Then we rinse them over in this sterile sink here, so then they're scrubbed. Then they lay out to air dry on here, so on here. Then they go from here, they get packed up on here into the kits get wrapped, then they come into here, into the autoclave, where that goes on to program 2 for approximately 30 minutes. Then once that's all cooled down, everything, they get taken out of here and they go straight from the autoclave back into the other side of the theatre cupboard, and they go in on this side. So that is the flow of a kit going from one side into theatre, dirty, down into the buckets, cleaned onto the x-ray table, wrapped on the clean x-ray table, into the autoclave, sterilised, and then kept sterile, and they do not move from that point. If you want to check and see that they are absolutely sterile, I don't know, so there was a power cut with the autoclave, you could check inside the kit with the little kit strip, which tells you if it's gone black. So that's another way to check, double check, that they are actually sterile. Hello, I'm Sarah Jackson. This is video 9 Standard Precautions, version 2, and I'm going to do the WHO 11-step hand washing technique. So, first of all, you've got to get your hands nice and wet. Then, apply some soap. This is an iodine scrub that I've used. The first one is to do your palms together, like this. The next step is to lace the fingers together, kind of in an up and down action. Then you're going to kind of turn them from side to side, like so. So that's got between the fingers. Then we're going to do a scrub in the hands like this. So we're scrubbing the palms. Then we're going to do thumbs. Get round like that. And then I think last is the fingernails to really get in there. So a bit more water and get in the fingernails. Then when we've finished, then we have to dry our hands, because our hands have to be dry. So we dry our hands thoroughly. In between. You can see underneath things like that. To turn this off, we use the paper. We turn that off with that. And now my hands are safe.